So I want you to actually go back into a little bit of that because we're also going to talk about why people gravitate to want to be on the red team so much and why do they think it's easy. So I want you to talk about that story again briefly about.
Yeah. So I mean, at one point in time, I spent a lot of time building applications and running a software company, and so we used to go to hackathons just to make apps, meet other coders, win prize money, that type of stuff. So there's a hackathon in Michigan called MHacks, and it was at the Masonic Temple, and we're there, and they have all of these different students that are doing the challenge. I'm there as a mentor. A friend of mine is there with his company, General Electric, and they have their own booth. And so they have a capture the flag called GE's Red. I forget what it's called, but it's on Ghost Hacks or something like that, right? Some kind of CTF platform. Long time ago at that, right? We're talking about 2016, right? Yeah, this is like 2016. So I'm like 25. And yeah, so, I of course I signed up for the hackathon. I haven't really transitioned all the way into cyber yet. Now I have the skills. I've been spending a lot of time doing it because that's what you got to do. You got to spend a lot of time doing. You can't just manifest it. You got to, when it comes to cyber skills, you got to know. Come on now. Like, you got to have your trade craft down. So I've spent time playing with things, learning stuff. And so now I go into this capture the flag, and it's all question-based. It's like, about encryption. There's a couple questions about SQL injections and, like, simple, easy stuff.
CEH test.
Oh, yeah, it's a CEH test. I bang it out. I'm talking about 45 minutes, highest score. They done took this to Yale, Harvard, MIT, all these different places. So they're recruiting, right? That's how they recruit. So I'm at the top of the leaderboard. My homeboy, like, man, my boy Paul Erickson, a really good friend of mine. Go at him on LinkedIn, tell him I sent you. He's like, man, I thought you were a hacker. I thought you were gonna like break the platform, not do the CTF. I'm like, you want me to break the platform? He like, I mean, if you can. So I'm like, all right, shit. Say less. I got you. So I'll go to the platform. I try some authentication bypasses on the admin. I try and look for, admin panels. Because, of course, they have to administrate this thing somehow. I start looking for SQL injections.
Hold on. How did you get in?
I'm about to so, look, the CTF is running on a server. The server is there on site. You connect to a Wi-Fi network to get. So it's intranet. So it's a local ePIPA address that's associated with, the CTF, but it's like 192 dot whatever, or 10 dot whatever. And so you have to connect to their Wi-Fi to be able to get to that server. So I'm on their Wi-Fi, their own Wi-Fi network. You get what I'm saying? And you have to go to this IP address to sign up with your credentials to do everything through the web platform. So of course I'm looking at it like a web app test. I'm like, can I get cross-site scripting? Can I steal tokens? Can I, like, what do I have? Do I got?
Wait. I gotta educate y'all. What is cross-site scripting?
Oh, man, cross-site scripting is when you use a piece of JavaScript to inject into a website, and then that JavaScript then fires off in the context of the application. So the way that I will weaponize a cross-site script is, to have something that will look into your cookie jar and give me all the cookies to a remote server using, a cross-header request or something like that.
There you go. Look, y'all learn. I know y'all. We started off just talking about some foolishness, but we getting into so y'all can learn this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I spend a lot of time. I love teaching, so I'm trying all of the different, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, authentication bypass, directory forced browsing, all types of stuff. Right? I'm not coming up with much, so I'm like, whatever. But it comes to my mind like, well. They running the CTF from a Mac Pro. It's like at the time the cylinder just came out. Y'all remember the cylinder, the Apple Mac Pro. And I'm like, man, well, I got a rubber ducky. Now, it goes to show you how far I am on the red team shit. I got a rubber ducky on me.
Is that rubber ducky that little thing that I see? It's like it ain't that big.
Yeah, it's a little USB device that.
So you got the USB. The one I'm thinking about is what's it called? A flipper or something?
A flipper. Yeah, the flipper fun. The flipper's fun. It can do the same thing as the rubber ducky, but This is back in the day, right?
Right.
So
So let me ask you something real quick. So you just plug the USB in. See, and I don't even say that because the last what episode I was talking to somebody and we were talking about how that was on the live stream with Miranda. We were talking about how the dude from what was that First Republic Bank or whatever U.S. Bank, whatever bank it is, but he was able to plug a USB that had adult entertainment into his work computer. And we always talk about, hey, like you can put in controls for unauthorized USB, so that could possibly at least make that part hard enough for you to where the rubber ducky don't work if you putting a USB in.
well, think about it, right? Rubber ducky. What's really cool about it is it's an HID device, a human interface device. So due to accessibility, right, it's representing itself as a keyboard. So it's not acting like a storage device. So your policy doesn't say, well, you can't plug in external keyboards because then nobody would get work done. So now your policy has to be something that's user activity based. Like this user probably doesn't type 10,000 words a second, right? Because you're dealing with the computer. It's sending keystrokes as fast as a computer can send keystrokes. So it's acting, you have something called Ducky script. So you write the payload in Ducky script. And the payload is effectively control space, enter key, TERMINAL, enter key, and then like the reverse shell, using netcat back out to your host, right, out in the world. So you're sending, keystrokes through. But a human types usually 100 to 130 words per minute, right? So a Ducky script is going to do 1,000 words per minute, right? So you can have a detection there that says, hey, this just sent more keystrokes than, humanly possible, then it's probably an attack. But also, post breach, because you would consider that a breach, right? The moment that I have physical access to your device and I've put something into it's a breach. So at that moment, I breached GE without any written consent, without any real permission, right? Just as a dare. Technically, I'm committing a felony. Yeah, Computer Fraud Abuse Act, yeah. And that was scary. So, but I at the time, I'm thrilled. I'm having a thrill. I'm having a moment. And anybody who's ever broke the law knows that sometimes it can be thrilling just getting away with running that stop sign or that red light or no turn, no red. Fuck that. It's 2:00 in the morning. You shouldn't be able to, right? It's a free will thing. And it's about agreeing to a policy with a company that you don't belong to. But anyway, nevertheless, I get a reverse shell on that host. I'm able to see a number of things. Now, mind you, it's Mac. And at that time, I was spending a lot of time in Linux and Unix as a DevOps engineer, systems administrator. So I felt really comfortable. So I had a cron job set up, scheduled tasks set up. Yeah, I set me a cron job up. Yeah, cron job is something. It's a scheduled task. It's something that runs on a cadence. It's a file called a cron tab file that you can edit in Linux or a Unix system that will run a command on a specified duration, every minute, every hour, every so often of these days, whatever. And have a certain language that you can use or syntax that you can use in the file that will run a command, right? And so I was just giving myself more shells. Like every hour, give me a new shell. It's an idea of persistence, right? And then you talk about a scheduled task. Well, scheduled task, on startup, run this command. So the moment that you turn the computer off, I might lose all my shells, but when you turn the computer back on, I get my shells back. So these are just some of the things that I was practicing with regard to red teaming, right?
The only reason I'm asking that, I'm glad you're going into detail, because for my blue teamers, you've been asked in the interview, how will somebody remain persistent in their environment?
Come on now.
So you're hearing it right now.
Yeah, I'm
so
telling you what I'm gonna
I'm
do.
asking you. This is the only place y'all gonna get this at. It's a lot of platforms, but this is the only place you're gonna get this at.
100%.
And since you said that before you go on, I don't know how long you stayed in the live, but if you notice in the live with Miranda, I actually talked about like people learning Linux would be one of the foundations of getting into cybersecurity. It's like kind of like the backbone, like everything. Like even from offensive security standpoint, how important would you say Linux would be?
Oh man, I would say that it's so important that I made a living knowing Linux internals and systems administration long before I ever really dove into Windows internals and administration. And that while they are completely different domains, they're written entirely different, I was able to make a really good living just understanding Linux and not understanding Windows. Now, through just me wanting to understand Windows better, I went and learned, which was more recently.
Trying to go back and understand Linux more.
Yeah, Linux is and so it's different because Windows is used by corporate and Linux is used by engineering. So I was coming up through that engineering track as a developer and was never really working corporate IT, but cybersecurity, believe it or not, is owned by CFO. Because that's in the interest of the financial continuation of the company. Yeah. Yeah, so it's actually like, if you have a breach, the last person that it rolls up to before they reach out to a lawyer is the CFO of the company.